The next exchange, my client had her partner, Cooper, sit on the porch just to make sure nobody got screamed at, to hopefully keep things.
My client filed a police report because her significant other threatened him. So I told him if anything occurred where somebody threatened you to call the police. The police said you might want to exchange at a police department. So my client still had concerns about him since he lives with her. There's conflict between the significant other that lives with her. That's one of the biggest issues.
That no third party significant intimate dating partners be involved at all.
Afternoon.
All right, we're going to go on the record in Sarah Smith versus Richard Smith, 2026 DM 192, Butler County District Court. Petitioner has filed a motion by and through counsel, Ms. Schooler, to modify parenting time. They've also filed a proposed temporary parenting plan. The respondent appears with his attorney, Mr. Beal, and I guess, counsel, are we going to hearing today?
That was our intention, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Schooler, you may call your first witness.
Your Honor, I was going to proffer, if that's all right.
Okay.
Your Honor, the original parenting plan was the de facto parenting plan. The parties have a pretty different schedule. Per that parenting plan, the parties exchange quite early in the morning when the respondent goes to work. My client has the child all day, and then the respondent picks up the child from my client because she typically works evenings. My client is currently a waitress at Willie's. But obviously that is not her long-term goal in life. She would like to obtain different employment, to start a career, and further herself in that way. There have also been significant issues between the parties when it comes to the parenting time schedule. Recently, my client received the child with one sock, and because the parties are sharing custody, she keeps the clothes at her house, so she returned the child to the respondent with one sock. When she explained to him he just had one sock, she was called a filthy effing liar, and there was a bit of some screaming that went on. So at the next exchange, my client had her partner, Cooper, sit on the porch just to make sure nobody got screamed at, to hopefully keep things calm, or at least be a witness if the respondent decided to scream at my client again. Within a few days, Mr. Cooper, the partner to my client, received a letter at his parents' house that he's involved with a married woman, and kind of going on about that. That's when Cooper had reached out to Mr. Smith, telling him that he didn't like letters and not to contact him. And then Mr. Smith began calling Cooper very late at night. That's page 2 and page 1. You can see the no caller IDs. And then actual call from his phone number took place at 11:37 p.m. It continues all through the night.
Well, they are still married, right?
They are married.
Okay. Why is the exchange at 5 a.m.?
That's when the respondent goes to work. So my client provides childcare for the respondent, and the respondent provides childcare for the petitioner. They have opposite schedules.
And are they taking to the house or meeting somewhere else?
They, whoever's starting parenting time, the minor child is dropped off to the parents starting their parenting time. So in the morning, the child is taken to Mrs. Smith, and the evenings, the child is taken to Mr. Smith. And they'll agree on locations sometimes. Sometimes it's their house, sometimes it's Quick Trip, sometimes it's their parents' house.
What is your client? I mean, these people need to get divorced. And when you start bringing in other partners before you finalize divorce, it starts creating issues. And so that's not surprising. So we need to get these folks divorced so that they can move on, I guess. So what is it that your client wants exactly?
We would propose a week on, week off schedule that would limit the parties to one exchange. Our proposed time is 11 a.m. on Sundays, and that the exchanges be limited to just the parties. Nobody else should be present. No sisters, no moms, no boyfriends, not my client's parents, just the two parties. So that way the tensions can hopefully decrease in the future.
That's a long time for a child under the age of 3 to go without seeing the other parent. Are you not? Why can they not do some kind of Wednesday evening or some kind of Wednesday visit in between their off weeks?
That's fine, and we would also consider if the court would order a 2-2-3 schedule. We were just truly trying to limit the exchanges as much as possible.
Right.
We would do
that may help them with their emotions and be in their best interest, but it doesn't mean it's really in the child's best interest. So I would at least like to see midweek that there be some kind of contact. Unless they're doing a lot of, it's pretty hard to do FaceTime with children that small, but I know it's done if they're satisfied with that. But to go a whole week without seeing the off parent is a long time for a child that age. So, Mr. Beal, what have you talked to your client about doing?
Well, I talked to my client and I told him that usually the court would consider a 2-2-3 with people that don't really get along. But these parties, what traditionally had happened was they've been exercising this de facto arrangement because mom's working third shift. And so that's why dad had the minor child during the nighttime and mom had the child during the day, and that avoided daycare. And the child has never spent the night with mom. And what precipitated this issue, as the court stated, having a significant other. Obviously, there's a disagreement as to what transpired. We have the text messages. My client filed a police report because her significant other threatened him. But that's a significant other. It's not the two parties. It's my client's position that it's still in the best interest of the minor child to go back and forth because that's what the routine of this child has been its entire life, is going back and forth between these two parents. And kind of switch that up at this point because we don't know, since mom's working third shift, would that mean that she would have a babysitter in the evening, or would she have my client watch the child during her shift time because she works third shift and sometimes her work, she doesn't get home till 2 or 3 in the morning for some of the jobs that she has. And that's what presents the problem. And that's why they had the unique situation that they did, was because they had opposite shifts. So I think what had transpired when the issues arose, I had my client say, I told him if anything occurred where somebody threatened you to call the police said you might want to exchange at a police department or even a quick trip. So he wanted to exchange at a police department so there would be no conflict, especially with not having any third parties around. And sometimes my client's schedule is he can't be late to work. So he wants to make sure that when they exchange, that they exchange on time. And if they can't, that he be able to drop the child off at the paternal grandmother's house, and mom pick up the child from paternal grandmother's if she's more than 15 minutes late, in that no significant other be involved. And I say significant others because sometimes my client, if he's stuck working overtime, that he'd have to have family help exchange, which is different than a significant other, because a significant other is just in the picture for we don't know how long, but the minor child's accustomed to family. I noticed that her dad had helped out with some of the visitation. I think what would help these parties is, counsel did say talking parents app. I think that would be very important for these individuals, a talking parent app, that they continue with the schedule until we know what mom's further future relies on, because we don't know what babysitter she would be using for this minor child. It'd be new, and we wouldn't want the significant other to be watching this minor child. So those are our biggest concerns, and that's why we wanted the schedule to just stay the same, but there'd be a 15-minute window, and that they exchange at a police station. They use Talking Parents app, and that if one parent says the child is sick, then the other parent is still entitled to the child if they want to take care of a sick child. It just depends on how sick this child is. So those have been the issues. And then I think what really precipitated the issue of filing the motion is that when the court adopted the parenting plan, originally this case had two cases filed, and we consolidated the two cases, and the court
Right.
adopted the parenting plan from the petitioner. My parenting plan actually had a holiday parenting plan included in it, and it had times in it. We didn't actually adopt that. The court only adopted the petitioner's parenting plan. And since there was a 4th of July holiday, it kind of precipitated a problem because we have no parenting plan for the holidays. I know we haven't finalized it yet, but there's only one holiday really in the summer, and then there's Labor Day, Memorial Day. But I think that was one reason that precipitated the problem, is we had an actual 4th of July holiday parenting plan that we have a parenting plan we could incorporate for the time being in the temporary orders. So at least we have something for them to rely on until we either get this case tried or they agree and resolve the issues.
Okay, so I'm looking at the temporary parenting plan that I signed May 19th of 2026, correct?
Yeah, I
Paragraph
have
16 has parenting time as follows. The residency of the child shall be shared. Respondent has parenting time Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 5:45 a.m. and every other weekend. The petitioner has parenting time Monday through Friday, 5:45 to 4 and every other weekend. Correct?
that is the temporary parenting plan that was filed by the opposing party. Yes.
Okay. Did you, if you have, it's not in here, did you file, Mr. Beal, a response to their motion to modify?
I didn't file a response because I was relying on my old parenting plan that was filed in the case that was consolidated.
Okay. And so, well, I don't have that file in front of me, so I don't know what your plan said exactly, but
It basically said the same. It had a little bit different times for the parenting plan, but it included a holiday parenting plan. That's what it
Okay.
included. And
Okay.
that was the only thing that was different between mine and theirs, is mine had a holiday parenting plan
Okay.
included in it.
All right, so if we kept the plan the same week to week, and the exchange was on the weekend at 11, like they're proposing, how would that affect your client?
You mean my client, Your Honor?
Yes.
Well, I'm looking after the child's best interest, and it's what they're proposing is the child be left with some sort of babysitter at the nighttime, because my client's the one that's been the person that's been having the child when mom's at work. And so it's not doesn't necessarily affect my client, it affects the child, is what our perspective is. Because the child has only slept at my client's house and not at mom's house. And we don't know, since she's worked third shift, that was why this was an unusual situation, is because of the working schedule of the parties. And that's why they had opposite shifts. Basically, one watched the child while the other was at work. And so my client's position is he doesn't want to interrupt what he thinks is in the best interest of the child by the child having a consistent schedule, and that being only watched by the petitioner and the respondent, as opposed to a third party if she's working. And since I haven't been informed if her job has changed, so I don't know what her schedule, if it has changed, I don't know what that is.
What time does he go to work?
He goes to work at 6.
All right, Miss Schooler, I'm trying to figure out, these parties don't have a lot of money, and they probably should avoid childcare as much as possible, especially if the other parent is available. So basically, if you go week to week, each party's going to have childcare.
Your Honor, so first I would like to clarify, my client will forego any evening shifts, any dinner shifts at the restaurant if that's a concern of the court. Her schedule is flexible, and we are requesting this so she can get a more standardized employment, a 9 to 5. My client's parents could provide the childcare during the day. I believe they would do it for free, but I think a minimal cost could be negotiated for, snacks and diapers, stuff like that. My client does, I don't know if Mr. Smith's family is available. I know he does. He's very involved with them and they spend time with the child. My client has no problem with, them providing some of the care for the child during his parenting time. I don't know their schedules, of course. I can't say that, but she's not against that. But my client's parents could provide that if the court would order it.
Okay. Well, about all I can do today is this. I want to remove the new partner out of the equation altogether. Obviously, if that becomes a permanent relationship, then that involvement will be just like any other step-parent type of involvement. But I want the exchanges to be between the parents and for them to be cordial with one another. And I'm inclined to just continue what they've been doing until your client has an actual new job, and send them to domestic conciliation in the interim. I will say this. I don't think it's best for a child to go a long period of time without being around the other parent, especially how they've been splitting days the way that they have. So the child is essentially seeing each parent daily, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, that is best for a child, frankly, especially a child of that age that everyone is still continuing to bond with. But I also don't think, I guess the every other weekend is when mom gets, you said she doesn't get any overnight. Surely on her every other weekend, she's doing overnight?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay. Because I don't think that it ought to be a situation where she never has her child overnight. And yeah, I mean, I guess dad could drop the child off at 5:45 at her her parents' house if they live in El Dorado, but then that makes her have to get up and get out of the house, go pick the child up. I really would prefer to leave these folks doing the drop off and exchange at their own residences. And they've been doing it at 5:45. This is what your client wanted, Ms. Schooler, to begin with, and that's what we've been doing. And I'm just not inclined just because she's changed her mind now, and she's planning to do something different with her schedule until she has to change it without getting a full final divorce and permanent parenting plan. I'm inclined to leave it and get them in domestic conciliation and get a finalized plan or recommendations and get the case finalized.
I understand, Your Honor. We obviously this wasn't the most ideal schedule because when they were doing this, they lived together, right? So he'd leave in the morning, she had him all day. He gets home from work, she goes to work when they were together. And then for obviously, statutes and rules, we had to file a de facto parenting plan. So I guess I could have requested a different parenting plan, but we would have had to, had a affidavit and a motion and things like that. So it was working. It's not just that she wants to change her employment. I mean, there's been some issues, despite which side the court finds more credible, there are issues that are going on between the parties.
Right.
She does have overnights, Your Honor. She does have them every other weekend. If the court's going to keep the schedule, the parties were originally exchanging at each other's residences when these issues started. They kind of got shifted to the police station temporarily until we heard from you. So if the court could make it a requirement that they occur at the party's residence, that would be preferred. I do understand why the court believes a week on and week off is a long time for a child, especially going every day. I totally see that reasoning. That's why if the court temporarily wants to change it to a 2-2-3, we could make that work. It's just the amount of exchanges are a lot, but I see how that could be beneficial as well. But we would like to go to DC as well.
Okay. I really think they can figure out something that works for everybody. I mean, obviously, maximizing time with parents is the goal. They're fortunate if they have grandparents, so they wouldn't be looking at paying sitters, which is very expensive and sometimes hard to find. So they do have that advantage. And of course, grandparents have a right to some time with the kids. I mean, to me, this is no different than if the child were in preschool or something, or even daycare. You're dropping the child off every day. I don't know.
The only other
know
thing,
it's early in the morning, but the child still probably naps, and I feel like the child's getting maximum time with both parents, and that's where the child should be. So how far along are you on resolving everything else so that we can get them divorced?
We've made some progress, Your Honor. There are some sticky points. This being one of them. Obviously, we want to do shared. It's just a question of how we're going to do it.
Okay.
And there are some personal property issues. We've negotiated, I think, a lot of it, but there are some pretty important parts that have not been resolved.
Okay. And Mr. Beal, I imagine since your client retained you, you've discussed with him how he's to treat the mother of his child and what kind of problems can be created if there's a hostile environment with exchanges and all that kind of stuff.
yeah.
So I am going to adopt the Parents app, and that's how they need to communicate. I'm going to ask that no third party significant, intimate dating partners be involved at all in terms of communication or pickup or drop off or being present during that. If either party needs assistance with drop off or pickup, they're free to use their parents. And if something comes up that they need to change the location or something, they can make that request on the Parent app.
Your Honor, the only thing I would say is that her significant other lives with her, and so it's not in a well-traveled area, and that's what there's tension between the two of them, obviously. And so my client still had concerns about him since he lives with her, and he wants to make sure that there's no issues because he'd rather have a safe drop off. But I know the court's concerned about leaving the child where they were at her house. But since there's conflict between the significant other that lives with her, that's one of the biggest issues.
Your Honor, he doesn't reside there.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, you all said, let's give it 6 months without our child having to deal with new people. Yeah, I want to just admonish them both of, this is a situation that you both have to make work for the child that you created. And you're the only two parents the child will ever have, and you are the two parents. And you need to act like you're the parents. So I want you to go back to what you were doing. I want to send you to DC, and I want to see how you're communicating through the parent app. And then I'll review the case, and I'm hoping you can take care of the property issues and we can just get a final divorce. I will, in the interim, adopt Mr. Bill's proposed holiday plan. And I want to ask Ms. Schooler, who would you have in mind to be a domestic conciliator?
I'm not super familiar who does it in Butler County, Your Honor. My typical go-to is Christy Campbell or Alex Flores, but he's about to go on paternity leave. Richard Samiego. Terry, do you have a preference? My first preference would be Christy Campbell.
I'm cost-wise, Josh Andrews doesn't do them anymore, does he?
I'm not aware of him.
Okay.
I mean, I can tell you that we use
I know that Becky Mann, Mann's used. I would prefer Becky Mann. I know that I think this kind of expensive, but I would prefer Becky Mann.
Well, why don't we just use Collaborative in Andover?
Okay.
They are very good at doing the most detailed plans, other than maybe Paul Langworthy, that I've seen. And I know they're not cheap, but they do a lot of different conditions. Sometimes they go so far out in the future, I'm amazed that they can do a parenting plan that anticipates various changes. But I think they could help them when she does transition into different employment, how they should share their time. And it may very well be a 2-2-3. But talk to them about, what they may encounter with those, and what that kind of plan, what kind of impact it may have, and all of that. So I think it's worth the investment. They charge a cheaper rate if they don't have to do a full investigation. If the parties make a lot of accusations and they can't come to any agreement on any of the parenting plan essentials, then it gets more expensive as they do a full investigation to make recommendations to the court. So it really is up to them how much time has to be spent, depending on how well they cooperate and listen and are able to negotiate a co-parenting plan that's best for the child. So, Ms. Schooler, your client may get what she wants. She may not, I don't know. She may get what she wants through a domestic conciliation process. She can put forth her thoughts. And Mr. Bill, your client may get what he wants. I don't know. But let's get them in front of the domestic conciliator, and let's stop having their own personal issues with the other party's involvements interfere with the best interest of the child. And by that person not living with you, that person not being present during exchanges, not having any contact with each other, and your most of your communication through an app, I'm hoping that will eliminate any further issues, because nobody wants to get arrested. And that's what's going to happen, is somebody's going to get arrested and something good's not going to come of it. And somebody may lose their parenting time as a result of it. And it's just, there's no reason for it. Put your focus on your kids. Start hammering out the details of your divorce so that you can get divorced and work on a final parenting plan with your attorneys and through the the skills that you learn through domestic conciliation. Okay?
Well, my client was still requesting the police station because of the conflict.
Yeah, I understand. Where does her mother live in relation to, look, can your client make sure that whoever she's seeing is not at the house in the morning for the exchange?
Your Honor, my client typically comes out and gets the child, I believe, from the truck. If not, she can just make that the status quo. So she comes out and retrieves the child and goes into the residence.
Okay.
Nobody's going to be present. I mean, that's how I understood your.
Yeah.
So it's just the.
Do they not both have videos that captures the street? I would say, yeah, you need to come out, meet him. He just shouldn't have to get out of his car.
Yeah, she has a Ring doorbell as well.
Yeah. I want them to try again to put this behind them and understand that they've been admonished and they know what's at stake, which is their parenting time. And there should be no third party interference, and get them in a environment where they can talk in person about a final parenting plan, and meanwhile communicate through an app so it's documented. And I don't want to change the location. I guess if somebody gets arrested or somebody does something that's captured on video, or something else happens, you're going to have to let me know. And then I'm going to have to sanction somebody somewhere and make some changes. But I'd like them to try again.
Understood, Your Honor.
Okay.
All right. All right. We are adjourned, except I need to give you a review date.
And 2, does the court want to prepare the order?
Ms. Cooler.
No problem, Your Honor. I just want to make sure, and Terry to confirm with me, morning drop-offs were at my client's residence and afternoon drop-offs were at Mr. Smith's residence.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. And let's do a review for maybe a final divorce on September the 17th at 2.
I'm available, Your Honor.
My calendar's a little slow. Just one moment.
Okay. And hopefully if they get a hold of Collaborative pretty quick, they'll have a plan for us. And so we can finalize everything. If not, announce it for trial, and we'll set a pre-trial and a custody trial or a divorce trial.
September 17th at 2:00 would work for me as well, Your Honor.
Okay, perfect. I'm going to put final divorce or alternative announce for trial. All right. Good luck. And let's see what you're capable of doing between now and then. And hopefully you can transition a little bit better into what's to come for both of you, which is co-parenting for the next 16 years or whatever it is. So, okay. All right. If there's nothing further, we are adjourned.